good morning, everybody. It is an absolutely beautiful morning here in Central Florida. I'm down in Bartow, Florida, home of Amphibians Plus. There is a two-day amphibian, Lake Amphibian Safety Seminar going on, and I am just out here to learn a lot about these absolutely magnificent and unusual airplanes. I've got just a little bit of time before the seminar kicks off, and so I figured there would be no better opportunity to talk about some of the differences between these types of airplanes than out here where, well, we've got a lot of them. If you're looking for the home of Lake Amphibian airplanes, well, here's a chance to talk about a lot of them. So the Lake Amphibians come in two basic styles. This one here is the Lake Buccaneer, and this guy behind me over here is a Lake Renegade, and we'll spend a couple of seconds talking about the differences between those. Now the front of the plane, if you talk to Steve McCoy from Seaplane Pilots, he'll tell you this is the soft, squishy part of the airplane. Now we got bow cleats up here to tie up to docks or to mooring balls with. And then a little bit further back, we have a bow locker for anchor and nose weights if you need to adjust your center of gravity. But you have to be very, very careful that when you're loading the anchor and the rope and everything in there, you put it in this back compartment. Because if you go down the front by mistake, you're going to drop your anchor and the rope line down into the landing gear wheel. One of the things that was actually really kind of fun for me was when I was flying back across country, when I first got my Buccaneer, was stopping along the way for fuel stops, and the line guys would invariably try and help me refuel the airplane. And it was actually kind of cute because normally the fuel tanks are in the wings. But in the Lake Buccaneer and in the Renegade, the fuel tank sits at the base of the engine pylon. Okay. Now, all the lakes came with these floats or sponsons, depends on who you're talking to. A lot of them have an auxiliary fuel tank in them. Others don't have it. That was an option from the factory. But it's 7 gallons per side auxiliary fuel tank. So in the Buccaneer, I have a total of 54 gallons of fuel. And in the Renegade, I'll have to look up the total number there because they've got wing tanks also. But again, it's an extra 14 gallons of fuel for the flight. So the Lake Buccaneer comes with a 4-cylinder Lycoming 200 horse IO 360 engine. It is considered a 4-person airplane, although a lot of people have taken the back seats out to put just more storage in the back. The Renegade is the big brother of the amphibians. It is a Lycoming IO 540, so it's a 250 horse engine, or in this case they've got upgraded with the turbocharger. But these airplanes are considered kind of a 4+2, where there's supposedly a 6-seat capability, but I'm not so sure I'd like to be the one sitting in row 3 there. Alright, so if you're looking at a Buccaneer, you'll notice the obvious things are it's got 2 windows. It's got the slide open canopy and then a single window for the back seat. And the engine pylon up on top, it looks a little bit like the cowling there. Looks a little bit like the back of the cowling was just cut off flat. The back of the engine compartment on a Buccaneer looks like someone just kind of forgot to put the back of the compartment together. But that's how they come standard. And if you look at the tail, the rudder is, and there's no gap in the rudder. It's a continuous piece of material all the way across. And the elevator has these trim pieces on either side of the elevator. So those are the basic distinguishing characteristics of a Buccaneer from a casual observer. Now, in contrast, the Renegade has a much larger engine pod up on top. You'll notice the Renegades all have completely enclosed cowlings on the top of the engine. Now, one of the other distinguishing features about the Renegade is it's got this long middle window, and then some of them have got this third row opera window. And that's a mod or an option from the factory, but the longer middle window as opposed to the short little guy is another indication that this is a Renegade. Also, if you look here, the tail of the Renegade in the foreground here is massive compared to the tail of the Buccaneer in behind it there. The Renegade's got a big slot notched out of the top of the rudder there, right above where the elevator comes through, that you don't see in the Buccaneers. And it only has a single trim tab instead of a double trim tab on the Buccaneers. So those are kind of the obvious ways to tell the difference. Now, in this Buccaneer, you'll notice there is a kind of a hump on the front of the engine pylon. And what used to be a Buccaneer but is now deteriorating back into the earth, you notice that hump is missing on this Buccaneer sitting next to it. That hump is an external is the external heater for the airplane. Most single-engine airplanes, you know, Comanches, Moonies, whatever, they've got a heat shroud kind of wrapped around the exhaust, and that's how you get heat into the cabin of the airplane. These airplanes, because the engine is sitting so far away from the cockpit, it's not efficient to vent air, heated air down into the cabin. So they have a separate, this separate little compartment in there for it, a separate little heater. And that's real common in twin-engine airplanes. If you fly Senecas or Apaches or Barons or something like that, you'll see that in most of the twin-engine airplanes. If you notice, there's this big piece of metal that covers up the inboard edge of the flap on this Buccaneer. This is called a bat wing, and it helps deflect the air coming off the engine, it helps deflect the air coming off the prop away from the flap. Another very common mod on the Buccaneers is to put in VGs or Vortex Generators. And these are again designed to help lower the stall speed of the airplane by stabilizing the air boundary over the leading edge at slow flight. Another pretty interesting mod on some of these airplanes is the Q-tip propellers. If you'll notice, the prop tips are bent at the very edges on here, and again, that's to help disrupt the airflow. They say it makes the engine run a little bit quieter because it's turning the prop tip energy in a little bit different way. Well, it's time to head inside and start the classroom portion of the training seminar. There is a lot to learn today, a lot of material to go through, and it should be a really fun time.
Even though you don't get the bubbling, you start getting rapid cycling of the thing. Another check you can get when you do this bleed down, if there's insufficient.
Yes.
I won't go fly away.
That's the basic of a service. Now, pro tip, if your oleos are serviced with fluid properly, if it's full in a compressed position, you can come over here, shut your bottle off, feed your regulator in, disconnect your line, you'll get a purge from the line. Go to the other side, hook it up, and your oleos should match if they're serviced properly.
And in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to get to go and fly this Lake Renegade with an absolute flying legend, Harry Shannon. A buddy of mine is going to try and record this a little bit from the back seat. So I'm really focusing on flying today, but I cannot tell you how excited I am to go fly a Renegade and see the differences between how it handles and my Buccaneer handles. So let's go along for a ride. that did not disappoint. This was really, really fun. I don't know how the video is going to turn out. I was really intently focused on learning, not on filming or anything like that. But let me just tell you, what he showed me in terms of how these things perform is just amazing, and it really goes to reinforce the just the notion that if you're flying an airplane, especially if you're flying a specialty airplane like a Lake or a Renegade, it is worth every penny of your time to go and learn from someone that's done it a bunch and that has experience in these airplanes. So, wow, it was impressive. I was just blown away. So again, thanks to Harry Shannon for flying with me today, and certainly thanks to Dave Olson for letting me go for a ride in your Renegade. This was truly a fun day. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for this time. We got our certificate of completion. We got a lot of really good information. Again, I'd like to thank Lance and Harry and Seaplane Pilots Association and everyone for putting on this event this year. It was great. I hope those of you watching enjoyed the video. And until next time, thanks for watching. Take care.